Jake Harrison stood at the main window of the human ship Horizon's Edge, watching the massive alien vessel that hung in space before them. The alien ship was 3 times bigger than theirs, dark metal covered in strange glowing symbols that seemed to move and change as he watched. He had seen many ships in his years as a diplomatic attach, but nothing like this. "It's beautiful," said Dr. Maya Patel, standing beside him. The xenobiologist was trying to hide her excitement, but Jake could hear it in her voice. "Look at those energy patterns. I've never seen anything like it." Captain Lisa Martinez walked up behind them, her face serious. "Beautiful or not, that thing could destroy us in seconds. The weapon scans are off the charts." She turned to Jake. "You ready for this? First contact is always tricky, but this feels different." Jake nodded, though he felt butterflies in his stomach. He had handled dozens of first contact situations, but usually with species that were somewhat similar to humans. The intelligence reports on this ship were strange and incomplete. They called themselves the Velanathi Empire, and their leader was someone called Empress Zara Velanathi. That was about all they knew. "Any word from Earth?" Jake asked. "They want us to proceed with standard diplomatic protocols," Lisa replied. "But they also want us to be very careful. Long-range sensors detected this ship destroying 3 asteroid mining stations last week. No survivors." Commander Alex Stone joined their group, his military uniform crisp and his expression grim. "My team is ready if things go wrong. But honestly, Harrison, I hope your talking skills are better than our weapons today." Jake managed a small smile. "That makes 2 of us." The communication system crackled to life. "Horizon's Edge, this is the Velanathi vessel Shadowbane. Our Empress will speak with your leaders now." Lisa moved to the communication console. "This is Captain Martinez of the human exploration ship Horizon's Edge. We come in peace, seeking dialogue with your empire." The screen flickered, and Jake felt his breath catch. The being that appeared was unlike anything he had ever seen. She looked somewhat human, but taller and more graceful, with skin that seemed to shimmer between silver and gold. Her eyes were large and completely black, like looking into deep space. Her hair moved as if it were underwater, flowing and changing color from white to deep purple. "I am Empress Zara Velanathi," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality that made Jake's heart race. "Your species is new to me. You have entered territory claimed by my empire for over 1,000 years." Lisa kept her voice steady. "We didn't know this space belonged to anyone. We're explorers, not conquerors. We're just trying to learn about the galaxy and meet new friends." The Empress tilted her head, studying them through the screen. Her gaze moved across each of them, and when her eyes met Jake's, he felt a strange sensation, like she was looking right through him. "Friends, she repeated, as if the word was foreign to her. "An interesting concept. Most species I encounter want to either worship me or fight me. You seem different." She paused, her expression thoughtful. "I propose we meet in person. There is a small asteroid station between our ships. We will each bring 5 representatives. No weapons." Lisa looked at Jake, who nodded. "We accept your proposal, Empress. When would you like to meet?" "1 hour. Do not disappoint me, humans. I have little patience for boring conversations." The screen went dark, and the bridge fell silent. Jake noticed his hands were shaking slightly. "Well," said Dr. Patel, "that was intense." "She's beautiful," Jake said quietly, then immediately felt embarrassed for saying it out loud. Commander Stone raised an eyebrow. "She's also probably very dangerous. Did you see how her form kept shifting? That's not normal biology." "Nothing about this is normal," Lisa said. "Jake, you're our best diplomat. What's your read on her?" Jake thought. For a moment, "She's old, very old. And she's used to being in control. But there's something else. When she looked at us, I got the feeling she was lonely. Like she's been alone for a very long time. Or she's a predator sizing up her prey," Stone countered. "Maybe both," Jake admitted, "but we have to try. This could be humanity's first contact with a major galactic power. If we can make friends with her empire, it could change everything for our species." An hour later, Jake found himself in a small shuttle with Lisa, Dr. Patel, Stone, and their chief engineer, Bob Chun. The asteroid station was a simple structure, just a few rooms with basic life support. It was clearly ancient, probably left over from some long-dead civilization. They waited in the main room, watching through the windows as another shuttle approached from the alien ship. This one was sleek and beautiful, made of the same dark metal as the main vessel. "Remember," Lisa said quietly, "we're here to learn and hopefully make friends, but stay alert. If things go wrong, Alex will get us out of here." The alien shuttle docked and they heard footsteps in the corridor. Jake's heart began racing again. The door opened and Empress Zara Velanathi walked in, followed by 4 other beings. Up close, she was even more impressive. She was tall, at least 7 feet, but moved with the grace of a dancer. Her skin seemed to glow with its own light, and her eyes were like deep pools of starlight. The other aliens with her were clearly different species, probably representatives from worlds she had conquered. "Welcome, humans," she said, her voice filling the room. "I am curious about your species. You are small and weak, yet you travel between stars. How do you survive?" Lisa stepped forward. "We survive by working together, Your Majesty. We may not be the strongest or the fastest, but we're good at solving problems and helping each other." The Empress walked around them slowly, studying each person. When she reached Jake, she stopped and looked directly at him. "And you? What makes you special, human?" Jake met her gaze, trying to ignore the way his pulse quickened. "I try to understand others, Your Majesty. I believe that most conflicts come from misunderstanding, not real differences." "Understanding," she said, her voice softer now. "Another interesting concept. Tell me, Jake Harrison, what do you understand about me?" Jake was surprised she knew his name, but he answered honestly. "I think you're very old and very powerful. I think you've seen many worlds and many species. And I think you're tired of fighting, even if you're very good at it." The Empress stared at him for a long moment, and Jake thought he saw something flicker in her dark eyes. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. "You see much for such a young species," she said finally, "but you see only the surface. I have ruled for over 2,000 years. I have conquered 47 worlds. I have never been defeated in battle. My empire spans a quarter of this galaxy." She moved to the center of the room, and her form began to shift and change. Her skin became more metallic, her eyes glowed brighter, and Jake could feel power radiating from her like heat from a fire. "I am offering your species a choice," she continued, her voice now carrying an edge of danger. "Submit to my empire, and you will be protected and guided. Refuse, and you will be destroyed." "These are the only options I give." Lisa stepped forward. "With respect, Your Majesty, humanity has never been good at submitting to anyone. We prefer to make our own choices." The Empress smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. "Then you have chosen destruction unless—" She looked directly at Jake again. "Unless you wish to invoke the ancient right of single combat, one of your champions against me. If you win, your species goes free. If you lose, you serve me forever." Jake felt everyone's eyes on him. This was the moment that would determine humanity's future. And somehow he knew what he had to do. Jake felt the weight of everyone's stares as the Empress waited for an answer. Captain Lisa Martinez stepped closer to him, her voice low and urgent. "Jake, you don't have to do this. We can find another way." Commander Stone moved to his other side. "I should be the one to fight her. I'm trained for combat. You're a diplomat." Jake looked at his friends, then back at the Empress. She stood perfectly still, watching him with those dark, endless eyes. Something about her expression made him think she was testing him, not just offering him a choice. "I'll do it," Jake said quietly. "What?" Lisa grabbed his arm. "Jake, no. You're not a warrior. Let Alex handle this." The Empress tilted her head. "The human speaks for himself. But I am curious, Jake Harrison. Why do you volunteer when you know you cannot win?" Jake took a deep breath. "Because someone has to. And because I think there's more to this than just a fight?" The Empress smiled, but this time it seemed less dangerous and more interested. Explain. You could have destroyed our ship the moment we arrived, Jake said. You're clearly powerful enough, but you didn't. You wanted to talk first. That tells me something. And what does it tell you? Jake looked directly at her, ignoring the way his heart hammered in his chest. It tells me you're lonely. You've been ruling for 2,000 years, conquering worlds, and nobody has ever really talked to you as an equal. Everyone either fears you or worships you, but nobody sees you. The room fell completely silent. The Empress's companions shifted nervously, and Jake wondered if he had gone too far. But the Empress herself remained perfectly still, her eyes never leaving his face. You think you see me? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I think I see someone who's tired of being alone, Jake replied. Someone who's forgotten what it feels like to have a real conversation with someone who isn't terrified of her. The Empress stared at him for what felt like forever. Then she threw back her head and laughed, a sound like music and thunder at the same time. Fascinating, she said. You may be the first being in centuries to surprise me. Very well, Jake Harrison. I accept your challenge. But know this, I have fought champions from every species in my empire. Warriors, monsters, beings with powers beyond your imagination, all of them died. How? Dr. Patel asked suddenly. I mean, if you don't mind me asking, Your Majesty, how did they die? The Empress turned to her. Most died of fear before the battle even began. When I reveal my true form, my final form, most beings cannot even look at me. Their minds break from the sight. Those few who survive long enough to actually fight me discover that I am not just a shapeshifter. I'm something far older and more dangerous. What are you? Jake asked. I am the last of my kind, she said, her voice suddenly sad. The Velanathi were not originally an empire. We were a single species, very ancient, very powerful. We could change our forms at will, live for thousands of years, and manipulate energy itself. But we were few in number, and we were hunted by those who feared our power. She walked to the window, looking out at the stars. I am the only one left. The empire I built was meant to protect me, to give me purpose. But after 2,000 years of conquest, I realized I built myself a prison. Everyone serves me, but no one knows me. Jake felt a wave of sympathy for her. That sounds incredibly lonely. It is. She turned back to him. Which is why your challenge interests me. You are either very brave or very foolish, perhaps both. Commander. Stone cleared his throat. Your Majesty, what exactly are the rules of this combat? The Empress smiled. Simple. We fight until one of us yields or dies. The combat takes place on my ship in the sacred arena. Both species will witness it. If Jake wins, humanity goes free and our species will never trouble each other again. If I win, humanity becomes part of my empire, but I promise you will be treated well. And if he dies? Lisa asked, her voice tight with worry. Then he dies having seen something no one else has survived seeing, the Empress replied. My true form is not something most minds can handle. It is beautiful and terrible beyond description. I always warn my opponents, but they never listen. Jake. Step forward. I want to ask you something, Your Majesty. Ask. When you show your true form, do you want them to be afraid? The question seemed to catch her off guard. She blinked, and for a moment her perfect composure cracked. What do you mean? I mean, when you transform, are you hoping they'll be scared and surrender? Or are you hoping someone will finally see you and not run away? The Empress stared at him, and Jake saw something vulnerable in her expression. You ask dangerous questions, human. I'm about to fight you in single combat, Jake said with a small smile. I think I'm past worrying about danger. She laughed again, softer this time. Indeed. To answer your question, I stopped hoping for acceptance long ago. Now I simply expect fear. Maybe, Jake said, but easier isn't always better. The Empress studied him for a long moment. You really think you can look at my true form and not be afraid? I don't know, Jake admitted. But I'd like to try. Captain Martinez stepped between them. Jake, this is insane. You're not a fighter. You're risking not just your life, but the future of humanity. I'm risking my life to give humanity a future, Jake corrected. If I don't do this, she destroys? Use anyway. At least this way we have a chance. Dr. Patel was frantically taking notes. Your Majesty, might I ask about the nature of your shape-shifting abilities? For scientific purposes? The Empress glanced at her. I do not simply change shape, Doctor. I change the very essence of what I am. My final form is what I truly am beneath all the masks I wear. It is pure energy, pure power, pure emotion made manifest. Most beings cannot comprehend it without losing their sanity. But you're willing to show it to Jake? Lisa asked. I am willing to show it to anyone brave enough to face me, the Empress replied. The question is whether he is brave enough to see it without flinching. Jake looked at his friends, then back at the Empress. When do we fight? Tomorrow, she said. That will give you time to prepare, and me time to prepare the arena. I suggest you spend tonight thinking about what you truly want to accomplish, Jake Harrison, because once the combat begins, there is no turning back. She moved toward the door, then paused. And Jake, thank you. For what? For being the first person in 2 centuries to ask me what I want instead of what I demand. She looked back at him one more time. I hope you survive tomorrow. It would be a shame to lose the only interesting conversation I've had in decades. After she left, the room erupted in discussion. Everyone was talking at once, offering advice, questioning Jake's decision, trying to come up with alternatives. But Jake barely heard them. He was thinking about the look in the Empress's eyes when she said she stopped hoping for acceptance long ago. He had less than 24 hours to figure out how to survive a fight with the most powerful being in the galaxy. But more than that, he had to figure out how to show her that not everyone would run away from who she really was. The future of humanity depended on it. And somehow Jake suspected the future of the lonely Empress did too. Jake stood in the shuttle bay of the Horizon's Edge, checking his equipment one last time. He wore simple combat gear, nothing fancy, just basic protection and comfortable clothes that would let him move freely. Commander Stone had spent the entire night trying to teach him advanced fighting techniques, but Jake knew he wouldn't win through strength or skill. Remember what we practiced? Stone said, adjusting Jake's armor. Stay mobile, keep your distance, and look for openings. But honestly, Jake, I still think this is a terrible idea. Captain Martinez approached with Dr. Patel. Jake, you don't have to do this. We could try to run, make it back to Earth, warn them about the Empire. And then what? Jake asked. She'd follow us eventually. Her ship is faster than ours. At least. This way we have a chance at peace. Dr. Patel handed him a small device. This is a medical scanner. If you get hurt, it might help. And Jake, remember what we discussed about her species? If she really is the last of her kind, she's probably desperate for connection, even if she doesn't admit it. Jake nodded and pocketed the device. I'll keep that in mind. The shuttle ride to the Empress's ship was quiet. Jake spent the time thinking about their conversation yesterday. The way she looked when she talked about being alone. The way her voice changed when she said she stopped hoping for acceptance. He was beginning to understand that this fight was about more than just humanity's freedom. The Shadowbane was even more impressive on the inside than the outside. The corridors were wide and tall, decorated with beautiful artwork from dozens of different worlds. Everything glowed softly with the same energy that seemed to flow through the ship itself. Jake was escorted by 2 of the Empress's guards, tall beings in elegant armor that seemed to be made of living metal. The arena was a huge, circular room with a dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. Around the edges were viewing areas where hundreds of beings sat watching. Jake recognized some of them from yesterday, but many were species he had never seen before. All of them were silent, watching him with a mixture of curiosity and pity. In the center of the arena stood Empress Zara Velanathi. She had changed her appearance again, now looking more like a warrior than a diplomat. Her skin was silver white. Her hair was pure white and flowed down her back, and she wore armor that seemed to be made of the same energy that powered her ship. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Welcome, Jake Harrison, she said, her voice carrying clearly. Across the arena, are you ready to face me? Jake walked toward the center of the arena, trying to ignore the way his heart was racing. As ready as I'll ever be, Your Majesty, she smiled, and Jake noticed it seemed sad. You may call me Zara. If you are brave enough to die for your species, you have earned the right to use my name. I prefer to think of it as being brave enough to live for my species, Jake replied. But thank you, Zara. The use of her name seemed to surprise her. She blinked, and her composure slipped for just a moment. You continue to surprise me, human. Very well, let us begin. The fight started slowly. Zara moved like water, fluid and graceful, while Jake did his best to stay out of her way. She wasn't trying to hurt him yet, just testing his reflexes and abilities. When she struck, it was with controlled precision, and Jake realized she was holding back tremendously. You're not really trying to fight me, Jake said, dodging another careful strike. I am evaluating you, Zara replied. I want to understand what makes you different from the others. What made the others special? Jake asked, genuinely curious. Zara paused in her attack. They were all warriors. Strong, skilled, confident. They believed they could defeat me through superior technique or weaponry, and you proved them wrong. I proved them irrelevant. She began to change as she spoke. Her form became taller, more angular, with energy crackling around her hands. They saw me as an obstacle to overcome, not as a being to understand. Jake kept moving, but he was also watching her carefully. What do you want me to see you as? The question made her stumble slightly. I want you to see me as I truly am. Not the Empress, not the Conqueror, not the monster. Just me. Then show me, Jake said simply. Zara stopped moving entirely. You don't understand what you're asking. My true form is not something your mind can process. It will break you. Maybe, Jake admitted, but maybe not. You said yourself that I'm different from the others. Why not find out how different? Because I don't want to lose you, Zara said quietly. So quietly that Jake almost didn't hear her. The admission hung in the air between them. Jake realized that all the spectators in the arena had gone completely silent. Even the Empress seemed shocked by her own words. You don't want to lose me? Jake asked gently. Zara's form began to shift again, becoming more human-like, more vulnerable. In 2,000 years, you are the first person who has looked at me and seen loneliness instead of power. The first person who has asked what I want instead of what I demand? I have been alone for so long that I have forgotten what it felt like to want someone to understand me. Jake stepped closer, ignoring the energy that sparked around her. I do want to understand you, Zara. That's why I'm here. Not to defeat you, but to see you. And if seeing me destroys you, then at least someone will have tried, Jake said. But I don't think it will. I think you're more afraid of being seen than I am of seeing you. Zara stared at him for a long moment. You think I'm afraid? I think you're terrified, Jake said honestly. You've been alone for so long that you've forgotten how to let someone close. You show your final form not to scare people away, but to test them, to see if anyone will stay. And if they don't stay, then you get to tell yourself that you were right to be alone, that nobody could ever really accept you. Jake took another step closer. But what if someone does stay? What if someone sees all of you and doesn't run away? Zara's energy began to intensify. The air around her started to shimmer and warp. Jake, you need to step back. I can't control what happens next. I'm not stepping back, Jake said firmly. I told you I wanted to see you, all of you. The transformation began slowly. Zara's form started to dissolve, becoming something made of pure light and shadow. Jake felt pressure building in his head, a sensation like standing too close to a massive waterfall. The energy radiating from her was overwhelming, beautiful, and terrible at the same time. Jake, please, Zara's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I don't want to hurt you. Then don't, Jake said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Just let me see you. The pressure increased. Jake felt like his mind was being stretched to its limits. Colors that had no names flashed around him. He heard music that sounded like stars being born and dying. He saw patterns that his human brain couldn't fully comprehend, but through it all, he kept his eyes open. He kept looking at her. "I see you," he whispered. "I see you, Zara, and you're beautiful." The transformation stopped abruptly. The overwhelming energy pulled back, condensing into a form that was still more than human but not quite as alien as before. Zara stood before him, breathing hard, her eyes wide with shock. "You didn't run," she said, her voice full of wonder. "I told you I wouldn't," Jake replied, though he was swaying on his feet from the effort of staying conscious. "But how? How did you survive seeing my true form?" Jake smiled weakly. "Because I wasn't trying to survive it. I was trying to understand it. There's a difference." For the first time in 2,000 years, Empress Zara Velanathi had found someone who could see her true self and choose to stay. The arena remained completely silent. Jake could hear his own heartbeat echoing in his ears as he looked at Zara. She stood frozen in the center of the arena, her form still shifting between human and something far more alien. Her dark eyes were wide with disbelief, as if she couldn't accept what had just happened. "You're still here," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Jake took a shaky step toward her. The experience of seeing her true form had left him dizzy and weak, but he was determined not to show it. "I told you I would be, but how?" Zara's voice cracked slightly. "Everyone else. They either died of shock or ran screaming. Some begged for mercy before I even finished changing. But you you just stood there. I stood there because I wanted to see you," Jake said simply. "The real you. Not the Empress, not the Conqueror, not the mask you wear for everyone else. Just Zara." The watching crowd began to murmur. Jake could see confusion and amazement on their faces. Some of the alien species were whispering to each other in languages he didn't understand. Others were staring at him like he was some kind of miracle. Zara seemed to notice the crowd for the first time since her transformation. She looked around the arena, and Jake saw something like panic in her eyes. "They're all watching," she said. "They saw me. They saw you being vulnerable," Jake corrected gently. "They saw you being real. Is that so terrible?" "I don't know," Zara admitted. "I've never been real in front of anyone before. Not for 2,000 years. Jake reached out his hand toward her. "How does it feel?" Zara stared at his outstretched hand for a long moment. "Terrifying," she said honestly. "But also, freeing. I forgot what it felt like to not have to pretend." She slowly reached out and took his hand. The moment their skin touched, Jake felt a jolt of energy, but this time it was warm and gentle, not overwhelming. Zara's form solidified into something more human-like, though she still glowed with soft light. "The combat," she said suddenly. "Technically, neither of us won. You didn't defeat me, but you also didn't surrender or die. So what does that mean for humanity?" Jake asked. Zara was quiet for a moment, thinking. "By the ancient laws, if a combat ends in a draw, it means both sides have shown honor. Your species has proven their courage." She paused, looking directly at him. "But more than that, you've shown me something I thought was impossible." "What's that?" "That I don't have to be alone anymore." The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. Jake could see some of Zara's own people looking confused and concerned. This was clearly not how these combats usually ended. One of Zara's advisors, a tall being with blue skin and multiple arms, approached the edge of the arena. "Your Majesty," he called out, his voice carrying across the space. "What are your orders?" "Regarding the humans?" Zara looked at Jake, then at the crowd, then back at Jake. "I need to think," she said. "This changes everything." She released Jake's hand and stepped back. "The combat is ended," she announced to the crowd. "Return to your duties. I will announce my decision soon." As the spectators began to file out of the arena, Jake felt his legs give out. The stress of the fight and the overwhelming experience of seeing Zara's true form finally caught up with him. He sat down heavily on the arena floor. Zara immediately knelt beside him. "Are you hurt?" "I was trying to be careful, but my true form can be damaging to witness." "I'm okay," Jake said, though his head was pounding. Just tired. That was intense. It was intense for me too, Zara admitted. I've never shown my true form to someone who didn't immediately try to kill me or run away. I wasn't sure what would happen. Dr. Patel's voice came from the viewing area. Jake, are you all right? Jake looked up to see his friends rushing down to the arena floor. Captain Martinez looked relieved but worried, while Commander Stone looked like he couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. I'm fine, Jake called back. Just need a minute. Zara stood up as the humans approached. Her expression became more formal, more like the Empress they had first met. Your friend showed remarkable courage, she told them. I have never encountered a being who could witness my true form and remain standing. What happens now? Lisa asked directly. Now I must decide what to do with your species, Zara replied. The combat has ended in a way I never expected. The ancient laws don't cover this situation. What would you normally do? Dr. Patel asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. Zara smiled slightly. Normally I would either welcome a new species into my empire as subjects, or I would destroy them as enemies. But Jake has shown me that there might be a third option. What kind of third option? Jake asked, struggling to stand. Zara immediately offered him her arm for support. Partnership, she said simply. For 2,000 years I have ruled through fear and strength. Every species in my empire serves me because they have no choice. But what if there was a species that served alongside me by choice? What if there was a people who saw me as an ally rather than a master? Commander Stone frowned. You're talking about an alliance? Equal partners? I'm talking about something even more radical, Zara said. I'm talking about friendship. Jake asked me yesterday what I wanted, and I realized I want what everyone wants. I want to be understood. I want to be accepted. I want to not be alone. She looked at Jake. Your species has something mine lost long ago. You have the ability to see past appearances, to find connection even with beings completely different from yourselves. That's not weakness, as I at first thought. That's strength. So humanity would be free? Lisa asked. More than free, Zara said. You would be the first species to join my empire as equals. Not subjects, but partners. Your people could travel freely. Through my territory, trade with my worlds, share knowledge and culture. And in return? Jake asked. In return, you would help me learn how to be something other than a conqueror, Zara said quietly. You would help me remember what it means to have friends instead of just servants. Dr. Patel was practically vibrating with excitement. Think of what we could learn from each other. The scientific advances, the cultural exchange, the possibilities for exploration, ... It wouldn't be easy, Zara warned. Many species in my empire won't understand this new arrangement. Some might see it as weakness. There could be resistance, even rebellion. We'll face that together, Jake said firmly. If you're willing to change 2,000 years of habit, we can handle a few political problems. Zara stared at him for a long moment, then smiled. It was the first truly happy expression Jake had seen from her. You continue to amaze me, Jake. Harrison, very well, let us try this experiment in friendship. She turned to address the few remaining spectators in the arena. Hear me, citizens of the Velanathi Empire. Today marks the beginning of a new age. The humans will join us not as subjects, but as allies. We will learn from each other, grow together, and perhaps discover what we have all been missing. Jake felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with Zara's energy. For the first time since this whole adventure began, he felt truly hopeful about the future. So, he said to Zara, what happens next? She smiled at him, and this time there was nothing formal or distant about it. Next, we begin the most interesting conversation in the history of the galaxy. 3 months had passed since the combat in the arena, and Jake stood on the observation deck of the Shadowbane, watching as human and Velanathi ships worked together in space. The sight still amazed him. The sleek alien vessels moved alongside. Earth's boxy cargo ships and research vessels, sharing technology and resources like old friends. You look thoughtful, Zara said, approaching from behind. She had taken to spending most of her time in a form that looked almost human, though her skin still held that soft glow and her eyes remained the deep black of space. I'm thinking about how much has changed, Jake replied. 3 months ago, humanity didn't even know your empire existed. Now we're partners. Zara joined him at the window. Partners, she repeated, as if testing the word. I still find it strange to use that word. For so long, I only had subjects and enemies. Any regrets? Jake asked. About the alliance? None, Zara smiled. Though I admit some of my people are still adjusting to the idea. Admiral Kent complained yesterday that humans ask too many questions. Jake laughed. Dr. Patel probably asked him about the quantum mechanics of his ship's engines for 3 straight hours. 4 hours, Zara corrected. But he was secretly impressed by her understanding. He told me later that humans might actually help us improve our technology. It was true. The partnership had been beneficial for both species. Humans brought creativity and curiosity that the Velanathi had lost over their long years of conquest. In return, the aliens shared technology that was thousands of years advanced. Earth's scientists were like children in a candy store. Speaking of questions, Jake said, I have one for you. Ask. Are you happy? Zara was quiet for a moment. Happy, she said slowly. Another word I haven't used in centuries. Yes, Jake, I think I am happy. For the first time in longer than I care to remember. What changed? Zara turned to look at him. You did. When you looked at my true form and didn't run away, something inside me that I thought was dead came back to life. Hope, I think. The possibility that I could be more than just a conqueror. Through the window they could see Captain Martinez's ship, the Horizon's Edge, docking with one of the Velanathi stations. Lisa had become something like an ambassador, helping to smooth the cultural differences between the two species. Your friend Lisa is very good at her job, Zara observed. She prevented 3 diplomatic incidents this week alone. She's had practice dealing with difficult personalities, Jake said with a grin. Are you calling me difficult? I'm calling you complex. There's a difference. Zara laughed, a sound that Jake had come to love hearing. Complex, I suppose that's fair. An alert chimed on Zara's communication device. She checked it and her expression became serious. We have a problem. What kind of problem? The kind that was inevitable, I suppose. 3 of my sector governors are calling for a meeting. They want to discuss the human situation, as they call it. Jake felt a knot form in his stomach. They don't approve of the alliance. They don't approve of humans being treated as equals, Zara corrected. They think I've grown weak. That allowing one species to be our partners will encourage others to rebel. Are they right? Zara considered this. Probably, the Empire was. Built on fear and absolute authority. Showing mercy, showing friendship, it does make me appear weak by the old standards. But the old standards were making me miserable, Zara said firmly. I was the most powerful being in the galaxy, and I was utterly alone. Power without connection is just elaborate isolation, Jake nodded. So what do we do about these governors? We convince them that the alliance makes the Empire stronger, not weaker, that humans offer something valuable. And if we can't convince them? Zara's expression hardened. Then I remind them who is Empress. I have ruled for 2,000 years. Not just because I'm powerful, but because I'm smart. I won't let fear of change destroy the best thing that's happened to me in centuries. The next day, Jake found himself in another meeting room, this time filled with some of the most powerful beings in the Velanathi Empire. The 3 sector governors were impressive and intimidating creatures. Governor Vex looked like a giant insect made of black metal. Governor Iln was a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell. Governor Morik appeared to be made of living stone with eyes like burning coals. Empress, Governor Vex spoke first, his voice like grinding metal. We are concerned about these humans. They are weak, short-lived, and numerous. Allowing them equal status sets a dangerous precedent. They defeated me in single combat, Zara replied calmly. One of them survived your test, Governor Morik corrected. That is not the same as victory, Jake decided to speak up. May I ask what concerns you most about humanity? Governor YLN's crystalline form pulsed with light. You spread too quickly. You ask too many questions. You show no proper respect for authority. You will corrupt our subjects with ideas of equality and freedom. And you think that's bad? Jake asked. We think it's dangerous, Governor Vex replied. The Empire has lasted this long because everyone knows their place. The strong rule, the weak serve. Simple and effective. But not happy, Jake pointed out. How many rebellions have you faced over the centuries? How many worlds have tried to break free? That is the price of order, Governor Morik said. What if there was a better way? Jake asked. What if instead of ruling through fear, you ruled through respect? What if your subjects stayed loyal because they wanted to, not because they had to? The three governors exchanged glances. Governor. Vex leaned forward. You think your way is better than ours? I think our way offers hope, Jake said. And hope is more powerful than fear in the long run. Prove it, Governor YLN challenged. Jake looked at Zara, who nodded encouragingly. Empress, may I tell them about Project Unity? Zara smiled. Please do. Jake turned back to the governors. 3 months ago, the mining colony on Kepler 7 was attacked by space pirates. Under the old system, the Empress would have sent a fleet to destroy the pirates and rebuild the colony. Instead, we tried something different. He activated a holographic display showing the Kepler 7 system. We sent a joint human-Velanathi team. The humans provided tactical analysis and negotiation skills. The Velanathi provided firepower and technology. Working together, we not only defeated the pirates, but we convinced half of them to surrender and join the Colonial Defense Force. The colony is now more prosperous than ever, Zara added. Production is up 40%, and the colonists have voluntarily increased their contributions to the Empire. They're happy, productive, and loyal. Governor Morik rumbled thoughtfully. One example does not prove a theory. Then let us give you more examples, Jake said. He spent the next hour detailing the successes of human-Velanathi cooperation. Trade. Routes that had been disrupted for years were now flowing smoothly. Planets that had been on the verge of rebellion were now sending volunteers to help other worlds. Scientific advances that had taken decades were being completed in months. When Jake finished, the room was quiet. Finally, Governor Vex spoke. These results are unexpected. They're the result of treating people as partners instead of subjects. Jake said, the Empress isn't becoming weaker by showing friendship. She's becoming stronger by inspiring loyalty instead of fear. Governor Iln's light pulsed slowly. And what do humans gain from this arrangement? We gain knowledge, protection, and the chance to be part of something bigger than ourselves, Jake replied. But most importantly, we gain friends. Zara stood up. Governors, I understand your concerns. Change is always frightening, especially when it challenges everything we've believed. But I've learned something these past 3 months. True strength isn't about making others fear you. It's about making them want to stand beside you. She looked around the room. The Empire will continue to grow and prosper, but it will do so through cooperation, not just conquest. Those who embrace this change will find themselves part of something greater than we've ever built before. Governor Morik was the first to speak. Empress, your wisdom has guided us for 2 millennia. If you believe this path is correct, we will follow. The other governors nodded their agreement, though Jake could see they still had doubts after the meeting. Jake and Zara walked together through the ship's gardens, a beautiful space filled with plants from dozens of worlds. Think they'll really support the alliance? Jake asked. They'll try, Zara said. And in time, they'll see the benefits for themselves. Change takes time, even when you've lived as long as we have. They stopped beside a fountain that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. Jake, Zara said quietly, I want to tell you something. What? When you first volunteered to fight me, you said you'd die seeing me. But you've given me something far more valuable than a noble death. What's that? Zara smiled, and her form shifted slightly, becoming more radiant, more beautiful than anything Jake had ever seen. You've given me a life worth living. Jake reached out and took her hand. We've given each other that. Around them, the garden hummed with life from 100 different worlds. Above them, human and Velanathi ships continued their work together, building something new and unprecedented in the galaxy. For the first time in 2,000 years, Empress Zara Velanathi was not alone. And for the first time in human history, they were part of something truly cosmic.